Hello guys, and welcome to this fantastic interview that was brought to you from the Mile of Smiles. I want to say a huge thank you to the organisers, Shropshire Festivals, for inviting us along so that we could set up a studio for the whole day, and we got so many amazing interviews, one of which you're about to hear. If you would like to support the Shrewsbury Biscuit, you can check out our website, which is the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast.co.uk. All of our episodes are available on there. You can also support us on social media. We are at the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. I want to say a huge thank you to my family and my supporters and the Biscuiteers that I saw on that day as well for giving me your support and your help. Setting up the studio was so much fun, but a lot of hard work. We covered a lot of miles, but so did so many other people. This event was exactly what was needed to illustrate what Shrewsbury can do. So anyway, without further ado, here is the interview that you're about to hear. Take it away, Alex and Leon. Enjoy the interview, and I'll catch you on the other side. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast. Alex Whiteley here with my today co-host, Mr. Leon Whiteley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're coming to you from the Mile of Smiles. You can hear the great music in the background. The atmospherics here are just fantastic today. I'm having such a great day. I'm speaking to one of the first poets that went up on stage. Very brave. Up there straight. Were you first?
Yeah, I was first. Wow. I opened up.
I felt really bad because we were interviewing at the time, so I couldn't pay attention to what you were saying, but I would have loved to have been there. So I thought, I'm going to reach out to this guy and invite him to come on and talk about your story.
Right.
And where poetry is taking you and where from. So thank you for joining me, Ellis. Ellis Unchained.
Yeah, thank you for having me, buddy.
Yeah, so where have you come from today?
Right, I've come from Willenhall, by Walsall, Wolverhampton sort of way. We're sort of a town in between Walsall and Wolverhampton. I don't think anybody wants us. So.
Well, Jill, who's the lady with the yellow t-shirt and the pink hat, she's been walking around. She's a friend of ours. I work with her, and she was like, "Oh, he's talking about Walsall. That's where I'm from." She was like, "Oh, you mentioned something about Walsall," and she's like, "Oh, it's so nice to hear the accent." She's moved from Walsall, living here.
Yes.
And it's one of those accents I imagine you hear, and you're just like, "Oh, it just reminds me of home."
Of course.
You know.
That's it, buddy.
Tell us a bit about you then. Where do you step into poetry?
Well, it's quite a funny story, really, mate. I left the forces in 2015.
Yeah.
I was an infantry soldier, and after I'd say 6 months of leaving, I got diagnosed with PTSD, OCD, and a generalised anxiety disorder. And I'd never written anything before. Recently, my wife's had to sort of teach me how to spell and write, basically. That's how I've come into it at a very low level, should I say, and it saved my life, buddy. What I do now, and this is the message that I'm trying to spread, I said on stage, it's quite unorthodox, my approach to mental health, but it's worked for me, and this is the message I'm trying to spread.
It's very poignant that you're here, because all the money that's been raised today is going towards Climbing Out, who help a lot of people with PTSD and
yes.
dealt with trauma. So that's very fitting. Did you know about Climbing Out beforehand, or did you learn about it?
I mentioned them on stage because I went on and I had a look at what we do section, and they say something on there, and they say it's about coming to terms with the past. And sort of what I want to do with Unchained Wisdom, because Unchained Wisdom is my platform, my website that I publish all my poetry.
Okay.
And I'd like to take it a little bit further, because I feel with like the system that we live in today, with mental health, we sort of get to
It's gotten worse.
it definitely got worse, buddy. Yeah. And I feel we get to this sort of point now, and the doctors and so on, I'll be like, that's it, you're good enough for work now, go and crack on. And I feel like a lot of people, it kicks them back a few steps once them, and I want to sort of help people to see that we've got to sort of imprint a new mindset, should I say, because we're wired. Let's not face it, from school, from reception, from leaving high school to then going into work. And I just like to sort of show people that we can sort of rewire the way we think.
Yeah, and there's a misconception about mental health as well, that you go and you get your mental health fix and that's it, you know. But I think one of the greatest phrases, I can't word it for word because it's quite rude, but one of my favourite shows is Rick and Morty. I love Rick and Morty, right?
Yep.
And there's a phrase there where they go to see the therapist, and she's like, well, mental health is like one of those mundane things, like wiping your backside, brushing your teeth. It's one of those things that you don't want to do, but you've got to, and you've got to keep doing it. Otherwise, you know, like you just said, you'll fix your mental health, got that to work, and then you're back to stage one, right?
Exactly. And this is what I'm trying to sort of put it this way. My mental health, say 3 years ago, was tatters. I'd spend weeks in bed, curtains closed, crying, losing my temper.
Yeah.
And when my first poem I ever wrote was called Free Me Bramble, and I'm not sure if you're aware. Have you aware of Cannock Chase?
Yeah.
Cannock Chase. Obviously, it's only down the road, really.
Of course, yeah.
I went there and I was going to commit suicide, and
That's deep.
yeah. Well, this is the thing. I can talk about this quite. I had a little twinge in my heart then when I said it, but we've got to find the strength to.
Look, you know you're here.
Yes, exactly. And I want to find people to find that strength to talk about these things, because, as you know, especially with men, we tough blokes. We don't want to talk about mental health. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's once I'd wrote that poem, and it was all over the shop. I went back to because the notebook was basically for a note, and I ended up going back to my wife, crying my eyes out, telling her what I was just planning on doing, and I showed her the poem, and straight away she gave me a hug and then looked at the poem again and was like, "You've spelt this wrong, you've..." And I was like, "Thanks for that, Bob." But that was where it was a big turning point for me, and I'd already started touching upon meditation and sort of a spiritual side, because before the army, buddy, I had no sense of spirituality whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm the same, exactly the same. And I've got to say, it was yesterday, because we were at the Battle of Shrewsbury yesterday, another event,
Nice.
and sometimes when I come to these events, when I go to do an interview, I suffer from social anxiety, right? Which is crazy for a guy who's like, "Hey, look at me, I'm the Shrewsbury Biscuit guy," right? But like, like, I was just looking for the guy who runs what's it called, Get Your Wiggle On. The guys were just singing just then. Yes. I was looking for the guy, and I didn't want to meander through the crowds and stuff. I kind of just snuck behind the stage and thought, "Oh, he's not here, I'm going." You know, sometimes I have a little bit of a panic, you know.
Yes.
And one of the ways I kind of solved that was through meditation, in a way that I go in the shower, I start off with warm, and I gradually getting colder and colder and colder until it's literally all the way down, freezing cold. And the reward is, so you breathe through that, you breathe through it, and the reward is that you can turn it back up again, you have it warm.
Yes.
And I was like you, I didn't believe in any of meditation and that kind of spirituality, but learning from the Biscuit, speaking to people that do, learning the army method, is it the 4-6 breathing method? You breathe in
Yes.
for 4, out for 6, that kind of changes your the way you're thinking, and it's really important stuff to learn, right?
Very much so, because because I believe now, especially because of how we live, we're like this, we're hunched over our shoulders and hunched our stomachs, and
Especially blokes.
creased. Yes, definitely. And we don't breathe deep enough. And funny you're talking about the cold showers, because I don't have a warm shower anymore.
No.
I've not had a hot shower for about a year and a half. Freezing cold, straight. And
Good, though, isn't it?
straight
Wakes you
in.
up in the morning as
Yes,
well.
of course it does. And it brings on a sort of a natural stress.
It's like the way to describe. If you've never done this before, by the way, listeners, if you've never done what I've just said, the cold shower and stuff, I have. It's the equivalent of a really good strong cup of coffee or an energy drink. It kind of wakes you up a bit and revitalises
It does.
you.
It definitely does. But on a cellular level, it does so much for us. It gets the blood flowing. It's good for the skin. It's good for the mind. And there's one thing, if anyone approaches me and says, "How have you got to this point so quick?" I'll always start with, find yourself a good breathing method, and it doesn't matter who's showing you how to do it. Wim Hof, and there's plenty of other people. but freezing cold showers is one thing that I say, get yourself into, try it.
And I always use the analogy of Harry Potter, you know, when they take those the memories and stick it into that pool with a wand.
Yes.
That's what poetry, music and art does, right? So you take all these dark feelings, these emotions. We were just speaking to Morris Malcolm. He was just playing some music for us.
Yes.
And he was saying, I don't write poetry, it just happens.
That's true.
And he's like, these are my life experiences. I've taken them and he put them onto a page or he's put into a song and they're gone almost. You know, kind of relief.
Of course.
And that's what's happened with your poetry, right?
Yes, definitely. And this is why after I come through, say, the worst of my mental health, and I was sort of felt at peace, and I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, just naturally. But then I'd write 5 or 6 poems, and I was doing this every day for about 4 months. And like I said, I'd never written poetry before, and it was like, it was almost
therapy.
Yes, definitely, it was.
I know how you feel because I don't know if you remember. I used to make music and stuff, like DJ music and stuff.
Okay.
And people like my dad and stuff asked me to make them like intro music and stuff. It just made me feel better. Because I know people listen to it and stuff, it make them feel a bit better.
Well, this is what I believe what life's about now. I find if you can just be kind and smile to somebody in a day, it's a very similar thing. It's, you don't know how many people you've helped. You just from putting that poetry or that song out there, you could have helped thousands of people without knowing. But it's a chain. We need to be doing this more as a society, mate.
Great example. Right, we were driving through Shrewsbury just yesterday, and there's these kids, they're walking alongside the road, they're just waving at all the cars going past. They're 14, 15, they're being silly, 14, 15.
Yeah.
And I waved back, and they're like, ah! And they waved back, and Leon was like, what did you say? You're like, oh,
like that. And
Yeah.
you know when someone does that with their arm and you beep for them and they're happy. I was like, we just made that kid's day.
Yes.
It's something silly, but
Exactly.
he's happier now, you know?
Well, this is the message I try and send now with my poetry and with my writing.
Okay.
It's, as you know, but amongst politics and corporations, them basically grinding us into the ground with work, and I want to sort of show people that there's more to life than what we think we know.
Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot more, mate.
Yeah.
Just even being in nature, just connecting with new people. Because when I left, and if I hadn't took this sort of leap, I won't be talking to you guys.
Exactly.
You're doing good today.
I'm doing great today, and as you was talking about social anxiety, I was only having a conversation. This is the biggest crowd I've been in since leaving the army, but I've took this on as a sort of a test and a challenge for my own mental health.
And then you went and got on stage.
Yes, and the first time I've ever been on a stage this big as well, buddy.
I'm actually taking on the military at some point. I'm doing the, what's it called? The uniform services thing in college.
Yes.
And I'm gonna, when I'm 18, move on to the military.
Okay.
Same position as you were in.
Okay.
Well, after I leave, I'm probably gonna do the exact same thing as you.
Okay.
And like help other people out.
Good. Well, if I was advising somebody of your age, buddy, I'm going to just say it, I wouldn't advise getting in the army. I really wouldn't.
I've always said Navy for you, and because Navy it's an armed forces where you get to travel the world, you do learn the discipline, and of course it's difficult like most armed forces, but the infantry is really hard. I mean, what you do, they turn you into a machine, right? They turn you into a machine. And
that was what one of my poems was about.
Yeah.
I can read Crumbs Under the Carpet if you don't mind.
Yeah, if you like to.
Entirely up to you.
This is Jill, by the way. I'll wave Jill over because from Warsaw.
I recognised his accent, so I introduced myself.
Yeah.
We had a little chat earlier.
we know what we're doing, right, Jill?
We do indeed.
Yeah. Right, so yeah, please.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Piece. Yeah, that'd be great. So this is Ellis Unchained.
I said on stage, this is probably the most negative poem of today, but I just want to sort of put it in words where I feel my mental health sort of crumple, if that makes sense, like a piece of paper, and this was the turning point. It's called Crumbs Under the Carpet. The day dawned, the cap badge greased our palms. Contract burns into life, now in motion. Rage manifests bayonet training, now it's begun. We scream, we allude that the sandbags are not real. thrust and bludgeon, sand-filled scarecrows with steel, standing snarling in a bubble with weapons attached to gun. High-pitched serenity as explosions, I observe men standing by, boys within an instant, loss of expression, tears rolling down eyes. Cracks appear, lakes of sanity evaporate to the skies, drilled with compassion, integrity, then taught to end life. These join at will, for a never-ending changing cause. They need greater care, there's more than meets the eye. The general public only sample crumbs from the pie. Cheers, William.
Stunning. I'm talking down the mic. I turned all the mics down so we can get you. That was amazing. And you know that it does. How's that for you reading that? And then these are attached to your emotions right now.
Oh no! When my wife seen that I was reading this, and she was like, "Am you going to be okay reading it?" And I says, "If you'd asked me that 12 months ago, I'd say no, but today, yeah."
You've gone over it now.
Yes, 100%. It's sort of feelings that, again, it's in our mind.
It's always going to be there.
Yes, but the reason I feel this used to bother me is it was on repeat. It was on repeat, and what I've done, I've took it off repeat. You know, like your favourite film, you get bored of it, put it away. Not so much anymore because DVDs and VHS is starting to disappear. But, yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's a paradox, isn't it? With someone like I don't know, like Green Day, for example, they wrote "When September Ends," right? And that's a song that they don't like to play because it's very touchy, it's very emotional. But yeah, it's an amazing song. So yes, you want to attach your emotion to something in the most powerful way.
Yep.
But at the same time, people are going to want to hear that over and over and over and over and over and over. Do you know what I mean? So, I know it just get easier every time you read something like
that. It does, and I'll put that down to meditation, buddy.
Yeah.
I've done a hell of a lot of meditation, and I make sure I do it every day. And the feelings that I've got, I see again what we talked about rewiring at the start. I have rewired how it triggers my emotional state, and then my reaction to how that emotion makes me react.
Yeah. Nice. And the reason I brought Jill here as well is because Jill, on stage, we were chatting to Jill when we were just about to record, and we heard you on stage, and she was like, "Oh, that's a Walsall accent."
That's right.
You
as I come originally from Walsall, I spotted it straight away.
Yes, you did.
And I thought your stuff was very powerful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Very
I appreciate it.
And when it comes to things thank you. Mm-hmm. When it comes to things like this, community is really important, and this is why I brought Jill in here. Good. Because you're reaching out to a community. I mean, what impact does your work have on others?
Well, when I first started, I didn't realise there was any impact, and then the more sort of little events I was doing, sort of just poetry events, and then I was getting people approaching me and saying thank you for that, and almost I was asking thank you for what to start with, and it's changed a lot of people's outlooks. And I had a message on Facebook the other day from a lady, and she says, "What you're saying every day has literally made me think differently about life."
Wow, that's fantastic. Nice to think that you can change somebody's perception of something.
And I've thought about giving this up.
Don't give it up, don't give it up.
I thought, and it's these little... I'll do this if I'm only helping one person. So when more than one person's contacting me and says, thank you, it's going to keep me going.
Poetry is the most underrated thing in the world, in my opinion.
100%. 100%.
Like, it's not like music, and it's not like this therapy and stuff, but it still can be used as therapy and stuff, you know?
Well, this is why I read this one first, because a lot of the set that I've done today, I've sort of put it almost in a story.
Like your journey?
Yes, my journey from leaving the army, and it gets very spiritual towards the end.
There's a really powerful scene I don't know if you've seen the movie The Sound of Metal on Amazon. It's about a drummer who loses his hearing.
Yes.
And he goes to a rehabilitation place for deaf people, so he teaches them how to use sign language. He's really frustrated. He's like, I don't need to learn this. There's surgery I can have, all this sort of stuff. And he's really angry. And what they do is they give him a book and a piece of paper and a pen and in a bland office, and they're like, just sit and write if you want to. And that really helped him. Just be able to just sit and write, It's very underrated, that kind of... Yep. It is meditation. I think it was Kat Merrick who came on my show, who does dance, yoga, meditation. She's amazing. I really do respect her. And she came on and she said, well, podcasting is a type of meditation.
Yes,
and I was like, what? And she was like, well, what you're doing when you're having this conversation is you are concentrating on the matter at hand, and everything else doesn't matter outside that bubble.
Yes.
It's mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Well, this is why I talk about it. People who get a bit put off when I say meditation, meditation, and I'm like, mindfulness, meditation, praying, whatever, colouring in, drawing,
it's all
whatever you want to call it.
Being in the moment and concentrating on what you were doing and all the sensations that are happening around you.
Yes, very much so. Well, this is what I was saying with the Unchained Wisdom platform. I want to this is what I was saying about in mainstream sort of medicine, it comes to a stop and it's like, there's your mindfulness, crack on now and be mindful. But I believe we can, if you want to, you can advance this. You can advance it just from mindfulness, because from the cold showering, the meditating, the breathing techniques, I've discovered some amazing things from within myself, which I never thought even existed.
I just want to say well done. I know that it's the most hardest thing to do while living is to find who you are.
Yes, 100%.
I just want to say well done for making it.
But I want everybody to realise this is not some sort of thing that just happens to the odd person. If we really want it deep down, we can all do this.
That's a word.
All do it. And we've got to come together.
We've heard that before as well. We've heard Morris, when we spoke to him, was like, everyone's an artist.
Yes.
Everyone is an artist. You're just finding out your art and then working with it, right? And my response was, well, I've only been doing this for about 4 or 5 years now. If I'd have realised I could do this when I was like 17, 18, I'd be bloody, Jimmy
Fallon.
Well, I've been listening to you, Alex, since you started doing the biscuit, and the way you have built this up and improved and got all your skills, and I'm just totally blown away. You have worked so hard at this, and you've done brilliant.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much, Jill.
Yeah.
Honestly. We do love what we do, and it shines through the passion for this, for me, and the same for your poetry. And me and Jill have worked at the prison. It's a closed prison here. It's a tourist attraction, and we're actors there. And what's happened over the years of us working together, we're almost like a family now, and that's because the passion shines through. And this is it, right? You can find it in everywhere. Mr. Liam Tinsley in the background there. How's it going there? Hey, I'm going to get you on a microphone, whether you like it or not. Okay. All right, yeah. Where do you go with this now?
Where do I go? I've just started connecting with some mental health charities, and I'd like to go down a bit of a mentoring route with it, mate.
Yeah?
Bit of a mentoring route.
What a great idea.
Because I don't mind mentoring groups of people, and I don't mind mentoring one person.
Have you thought of having them published? Because you could perhaps do that to raise money for these charities.
I've already done it.
Yeah,
I've published 2 books.
Yes.
Of poetry.
Nice. Good.
I've sort of done it myself. It's like through the Amazon route. So I thought, because I was new, I knew that these like sort of big publishers were going to touch me with a barge pole. So I thought, I'm going to go into it head first. On my own, I thought it's going to be the best opportunity.
Let's exchange details after this.
Right.
I would love to invite you onto my other podcast, USUK, US UK, because I feel like if your help, it's a transatlantic podcast with me and my co-host in Vermont. Okay. If we can get your work to help people across the seas as well, how good's that, right? I think podcasting will be great for you. Sounds daft.
Okay.
But speaking to ex-squaddies, people in your position, and talking to each other about your experiences and how you've changed, I think that would be a really good...
I feel like you have I feel like you have like a lot of stories about the army, about like outside of the army, before the army.
Of course. No, definitely. But this is, I say to a lot of people who I speak to, I'm like, my journey and how I've sort of dealt with things and how my thought process has changed. We'd have to sit here and talk about it from like being 3 or 4.
Do it.
Sorry, but it's,
do it, man.
I've actually done a thing with a fella named Chris Mayo, a very intelligent man, and we did a roidcast. We sort of called it a roidcast, and we just talked about the meaning of life. And basically, he come from a sort of a teacher's background, and he was even a vicar at one point. And obviously, and what the funny thing is, he was my RE teacher at school. And I said I'd got no sort of spirituality in me. So I was the kid sitting there going, "Oh, this is all nonsense, sir. What the hell am I learning this?" And now I understand, and I speak to him a lot, and he's given me some cracking advice.
Intergenerational connections are very important.
Yes.
And I bang on about this on the Biscuit all the time. Is that I learn from the youth learn from me, I learn from my peers learn from me. This is a symbiotic relationship that people don't understand.
Yes,
you know.
Very
you
much.
speak to Grandad, 75, was in the war, 85 probably. But like, you know, and you're like, oh, Grandad's droning on about his stories. You've been to war. You can now exchange stories.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's one of those things that's really important.
I used to see age as a bit of a barrier.
Yeah.
But I don't anymore. I've made friends now who are twice my age, and then cracking people, mate. And then I've met people who are younger than me, and it's a bit. At the end of the day, we're all one, aren't we? We're all born from the same place, and when we die, we all go to the same place. Wherever you want to believe, whether it's in the ground or whether it's up there.
You can learn something from everyone,
Yes,
can't
of course
you?
you can.
Everybody's
Definitely.
got their own story.
Yes, 100%.
And that's what we're here for. There's a lady just walked up towards us and was like, "Oh, they're talking." She walked away. It's fine now. We are the Shrewsbury Biscuit. We're doing our job. So I think you're fascinating. I really do think you're fascinating because you're not. I don't think you're doing this just for you. Obviously, you want to go into the coaching or to do mentoring. Yeah. I feel like there's lots and lots we can all learn from you. So I wish you honestly, genuinely, I really do wish you the best of luck with what you're doing.
Honestly, from my point of view, I just want to say thank you for your service. Honestly, I feel like it's under-talked about for how much work the army actually put into this world.
Yes.
And it is a real sacrifice because soldiers that come back off a battlefield that aren't necessarily killed, maimed or injured are still carrying those injuries around up here.
100%. I'm a big believer now that nobody who's done the forces comes out without a mental health issue. Yeah. I actually will put that out there.
Well, that's the whole army method, isn't it? Like I said, they turn you into a machine.
Yes, of course.
You wake up at 6, you do PT, you go in the shower, you go and drill, you do this, that, the other.
Yes.
And by the time you come out the army, you are now accustomed to the army ways, and it's very hard. So even before we look at what's happened in a battle or any traumatic situations, yes, you have been changed, you've been rewired, and it's very hard to fit back into society. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is why I wrote this poem about bayonet training, because obviously at that point I wasn't really. I don't think I was 100% aware what was coming, and then after bayonet training, I was like, I know what's coming there.
Yeah.
And you go on autopilot after that.
Yeah.
And it's the routine that keeps you going, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have to make yourself sort of dead inside to do what you've been taught?
100%, because when you're being told basically that you've got to go out and kill people, and no human wants to kill anybody.
So you've got to drain yourself of all emotion, haven't you?
Yes, of course. You become hard-faced, and you become a stickler for routine, and that's why now I choose to be free as possible.
Good.
I don't like diaries, I don't like calendars, I don't like watches. So it is.
I'll be there when I get there. So I don't walk to you. It's like, can you be there at 1 o'clock? You're like, oh, for God's
yeah.
sake.
That's why I had to keep asking what the time was. I'm like, what time is it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I've been asking this question to everyone. If you could say anything to the youth, what would you say?
To the youth?
Yes.
If I'd got anything to say to the youth, I'd say, be yourself. Don't worry too much about rules, as long as you're being kind and a good person.
Nice. And do you know much about bubbleology? So Shane, our co-host, was up at the castle, and he was like, I just spoke to the bubbleologist, and we were laughing about the word bubbleology, right? So we've been asking all of our guests, it's a bit silly, but can you say bubbleology 3 times really quick for us, please? We've all been doing it. I promise you we've all been doing it.
Bubbleology, bubbleology, bubbleology.
See, that's a world-class poet right there.
I reckon you should.
Okay, I'll have a go then. Bubbleology, bubbleology, bubbleology.
You're better than me. Bubbleology, bubbleology, bubbleology.
I've seen the guy with the bubble machine going round. It's awesome. It's all steampunk. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Ah, yeah. You got to look out for him.
I'll have to go and have a look.
It's amazing. Thank you, Ellis, for chatting to us.
Thank
and we're going to go now because we're going to speak to Get You Wiggle On. They're waiting out here. But you've been fantastic. And
thank you.
If you're about still for a bit, I'm going to come and grab your card or anything like that because I would love to speak to you after this. Okay.
Stay safe,
Thank you.
Good work.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. Well, that was a fantastic interview. I think you'll agree. I want to say a huge thank you to our guest. And of course, this is a generic message that I've recorded for the end of every podcast I recorded on that day. But we had such a great time. Every single podcast that we recorded was phenomenal. Again, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Shropshire Festivals for inviting us to take part. We would love to be involved with any other festivals or events that are going on in Shrewsbury because that's our job, to illustrate the amazing things that Shrewsbury can do. And I think Beth and the team at Shropshire Festivals, they do a great job too. Again, I'd like to remind you guys, if you would like to support us, you can go to the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast.co.uk. That's our website, and our audio is all available on there, and there are ways to get in touch with us. You can also support us on social media. We are at the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share it with your friends, and we will see you guys next time. And have a great day. Thank you very much. Peace out.